Greetings everyone, this is Sandy Gallagher welcoming you back to another lesson of Thinking into Results. Today you're going to start using a mind-altering toolbox that contains the secrets to mastering your world. You can't let what's going on outside of you control your mind. You are in charge of you. It's really very simple. You already have in your possession 6 mental tools that, used properly, will help you create a world to your liking. They're right here in your mind, waiting to be activated. They are perception, will, imagination, memory, reason, and intuition. These tools will empower you to get the results that you want. That's why we call this program Thinking into Results. We're teaching you how to think about what you want and accomplish it with ease. If you apply these techniques, your work life will be transformed in ways you never imagined. You'll look forward to coming to work. You'll be stimulated and excited about your goals. You'll be amazed at what you can achieve. It's like turning the lights on in a dark room. You start to see things clearly for the first time. I know I sound really serious about this lesson, and it's because I am. Because I use these techniques every day of my life, and I'm still surprised at how powerful they are. Now here's Bob to open that magic toolbox and introduce you to the tools you need to solve any human challenge in your career, in your business, and in your personal life.
You know, we've mentioned on 2 or 3 occasions that we have these sensory factors. They're like little antennae sticking out of our conscious mind. We see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And that is really how we've been programmed. We've been programmed to pay attention to what's going on outside, and we live from the outside in. You will never, ever do anything of any consequence as long as you're living that way. Do you know, Napoleon Hill said that an educated person is not necessarily a person with an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated person is a person who has so developed the faculties of their mind that they can acquire anything they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. Do you know, most people are not even aware of what their conscious faculties are. I'm going to share them with you. They're your mental muscles. Think of this for a moment. If I put this arm in a sling and I left it there with my fist clenched, pretty soon that would be the way it would be. Now, if at the same time I was lifting weights with this arm, I'd have very powerful muscles here and atrophy would set in here. Now, it's fairly obvious I haven't done either of these things, but if I had, you know what would happen. Well, it's exactly the same with the mind. We have perception, the will, imagination, memory, reason, and intuition. These are phenomenal mental tools. Let's think of them one at a time. You have memory. Do you know there's no such thing as a bad memory? There isn't. There's only weak memories and strong memories. Anyone can develop a great memory. I could teach how to memorize a book. In fact, Jerry Lucas was in San Francisco teaching people how to memorize the Bible. Now, the average person has difficulty remembering their way home, but we've got a marvelous memory. Memory is developed through association, ridiculous association. I would recommend you go and get a good book on memory and start to study it. Now, there's a way to remember names and a way to remember numbers, and there's little techniques you can use. And the way you remember numbers is not the way you remember names, but they're little games. Find out about them, study them, and develop your memory. You've got a phenomenal memory. Then you have reason. Now, reason is what gives us the ability to think. Do you know, thinking is the highest function of which we're capable of. We can be taught how to think just the same as we can be taught how to type or play a piano. And we should learn how to think. That's where we tap into the infinite. We pull energy into our consciousness. We create thoughts, which are pictures. We join them together, and that's how you build an idea. An idea is nothing but a thought or a collection of thoughts directed towards a purpose. We want to think. Let's think in new dimensions. Let's think of how we can do what we're not doing. Let's think of how we can do better. Let's not spend any time on the negative pole thinking of why we can't, only think of how we can. Here's an excellent graphic illustration for you of an individual that's letting the results, which started with the report card and then kept on growing, but they let the results control what's going on inside. When you look at your results and let the results register in your mind, the results then cause the thinking. The thinking produces the feeling causes the action, and the action produces the result. Same result, more of the same. And that's why people keep getting the same result over and over and over again. It's the report card syndrome that is turned into sales sheet syndrome, that is turned into the balance sheet syndrome, that is turned into the x-ray syndrome, the bank account syndrome. You must not let what's going on outside of you control your mind. Remember, I quoted Dr. Ryan. He said, the mind is the greatest power in all of creation. What we want to do is look at the result and say, I don't think that's what I want. And then you begin to think of what you do want. Build the image of what you want. Then the thoughts cause the feelings cause the actions, and the action produces a new result. You consciously observe the new result, and then you adapt to what's going on, and you begin with a new train of thought. See, what you're really doing is either responding or reacting. When you react to what's going on outside, whatever's going on outside of you, whether it's a condition, a circumstance, or a person, they're in control of you. But when you respond to what's going on around you, then you maintain control. And that's really what you want to do. Remember, it starts out with the thought. The thought causes the feeling causes the action causes the result. You take a look at the result, you adapt, and you start with a new train of thought. You stay in charge of you. Don't let the outside world control you. You control the outside world. Then we have perception. You know, I have used this book for years. And I hold the book up, and of course you can see clearly here on the cover, well, not that clear because it's pretty faded, Think and Grow Rich. But I'll be standing facing a person, and I'm going to tell them there's nothing printed on the cover of this book. Am I right or wrong? Well, they look at the book and they look at me and they say, well, you know, of course there's something there. And I said, there's nothing there. Am I right or wrong? And they say, you're wrong. Now I said, the more I get you to focus on what is printed on the book, the more you're convinced there's something there, and the more you're convinced I'm wrong. Is that correct? And they say, yes. But then I cause them to turn around and look at the book where I'm looking at it, and there's nothing on the book. Now what are we doing? We're both looking at the same thing, but we're looking at opposite sides of the same thing. You're looking at the front, I'm looking at the back. We're both right. Just because you're right, that doesn't make me wrong. See, what we've got is a perception problem. I say that's the right side of the book, you say it's the left. It's just a side of the book. It would depend upon your point of view whether it's right or left. Everything has an opposite, front, back, right, left, inside, outside. You couldn't have one without the other. In fact, if I took a sharp knife and I started to slice the right side off this book, when I've got rid of the last slice for the right side, I've also gotten rid of the left. Everything has an opposite. Well, you know, there's many ways of looking at everything. And that's what perception is. Our perception is our point of view. And what we want to do is, if we can see something and we think of why it can't be done, let's change our point of view. And maybe through a change in the point of view, we'll figure out how to do it. See, it's perception. Perception is a marvelous tool. Then we have imagination. Now, imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. Napoleon Hill said that. I adopted it, and I believe it. Everything is built through the imagination, the building I'm in, the camera that is recording me right now, the sound system. It's all nothing but the manifestation of somebody's imagination. See, everything's created twice. It's created in your mind, and then it's created in the outside world. Well, you've got an imagination. Use it. Use it constructively. Use your imagination to see how you can do much better than you're doing. Think this through. It's a wonderful tool. Don't lay it to rest, strengthen it. Then we have the will. Now, the will is a marvelous tool. The will gives you the ability to hold one picture on the screen of your mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. Remember I said that our sensory factors are like 6-lane highways where there's information flying into our consciousness. We hear noises, we see lights, we hear people, things are moving, and all of that's coming into our consciousness. It's just a hodgepodge of unrelated information that you wouldn't find anywhere outside of an Encyclopedia Britannica. Well, We've got to stop the rush of all this stuff coming into our mind, causing confusion, and we can do that through the use of the will. The will gives us the ability to focus. The will gives us the ability to concentrate. It's a powerful tool. Do you know, I like studying Napoleon's life. In fact, I got a couple of statues of Napoleon at home. One of his biographers called him organized victory. Another one said he had immense capacity for sustained concentration. Napoleon said, I see only the objective, the obstacles must give way. See, he had a very highly evolved will. He was able to concentrate. And the more you practice developing your will, the stronger it'll become. I'll give you an exercise. Light a candle in a candle holder and put it opposite your favorite chair. And do this all the time. All the time. Every time you're sitting there, totally relaxed, and you're by yourself, and there's nothing going on, no radio, no TV, light the candle and stare at it. Totally relaxed, and you're staring at the candle until you and the candle become one. You mentally become one with the candle. Now, at first, you're going to find your mind wander. Bring it back to the candle, the flame. And as it wanders, bring it back to the flame. Now, at first, you might only be able to concentrate for a second, maybe just a millisecond. But you know, it'll get longer and longer and longer. Now, what you're doing is strengthening your will. Or you can take a pencil and put a little dot on a wall opposite your chair. And whenever you're sitting there, nobody else will notice it. Just stare at that dot until you and the dot become one. When you learn to concentrate on one thing, you can concentrate on anything. It's very, very powerful. The will is, the will to the mind is like what a magnifying glass is to the sun. You see, it makes your mind stronger. Concentration strengthens. If I take a magnifying glass with the sun, we've both done it probably, we start a fire with leaves or with paper, we may even burn the clothes or burn ourselves. You take marshal the energy of the sun, you bring it to a white hot bead. That's what the will does to the mind. It marshals all this energy and brings it to a white hot bead, concentration. And last but not least is our intuitive factor. You know, someone said when we pray, we're talking to God. When we use our intuitive factor, God's talking to us. Do you see this body I'm living in? There's a ray of energy around it. It is so potent and powerful, you can photograph it. Semyon Kurlian perfected that in the early 30s. Well, you can pick up the energy coming from a person. You can pick up their energy through your intuitive factor. Get tuned in. Get tuned in. Start developing your mental faculties. You'll be glad you did. You'll become a much more powerful individual, much more creative, and you'll get much better results. This is Bob Proctor. Thank you.
Bob just told you about the phenomenal mental tools we all have at our disposal every day, anytime we need them. This isn't taught in school, but you know, it really should be, because these tools are the key to getting the results that we want. Master these tools by completing the exercises in your guide, and spend as much time as you can here. The more you use these tools, the better they can help you get the results you want. Look at a situation at work you'd like to change. What inspired action steps would allow the team to change the situation? Commit to take those actions and use these tools. Good luck, and I'll see you next lesson.